Hey there guys, and welcome to another video by JS Broadcast. In this video we're going to touch base on Polymer version 1.0, which was released recently, and I was very excited to kind of test it out and see how it works, and I can just say it's really beautiful framework. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it for any of my projects, but it's a very nice framework to learn and to have in your portfolio asset. So maybe if you're building some app, you could just apply to a certain element of it. So to kind of stop with a lot of talk, so let's just go ahead and create our first component, and that's the entire video about. So what you're gonna need to have installed is Polymer, and using Polymer we're gonna install our Polymer and the rest of the stuff. Also what you will need to have installed is Polyserver, but I'm gonna show everything. So first of all, you need Polymer installed. If you don't have it, go to Google and install Polymer. For those who have it, it's awesome. There's only one thing you will need to install with npm and Node Package Manager, and it's called Polyser, which will be our local host server, and we want to install it globally. So I have it installed already, but you will install it by typing npm install polyser g, which stands for global. After you have all that installed, let's go ahead to our desktop or anywhere and create a new directory called JS Broadcast Polymer, and let's cd into that directory. So after we are there, what we want to do is say Polymer init. We just want to initialize the Polymer JSON file. Name is JS Broadcast Polymer. Okay, version is, let's say, 0.0.1. Description: Polymer first component creation. Main file would be index.html, which we're gonna create eventually. Module, what type of modules does this package expose? Let's say AMD. Keywords, Polymer, and author, license, homepage, doesn't matter. Set currently installed, yes. Add yes, no, and yes. So that's it. You have time to read it, I don't, so yeah. Now I'm gonna open Sublime in that folder, and we have it by typing subl dot, which stands for open this whole directory, and we're currently in the JS Broadcast Polymer directory. So what we want to do is obviously type our install Polymer and press enter. Actually, I'm not sure if that's how it's spelled, so I need to see. I need to check, but I think it should be. Let's try again with Polymer install Polymer with small p. I'm not sure if it matters. Okay, it works. And let's see. Yeah, it's there. And let's just Polymer update in case everything is fine. Okay, good. Now we have Polymer installed, and we also have the web component JS installed, which is crucial for a project that uses Polymer. And now let's go ahead and write our first index.html file, which is our main file, obviously. So let me close this. So index.html. We're just gonna hit the snippet, HTML snippet here, and say JS Broadcast Polymer first component. Okay, so now when we have that, we obviously need to include the web component JS file. The way we're gonna do that is by saying script as usual, and source of it would be Polymer components, web components JS, and web components light.main.js. We're gonna use minified version, but we can also use the normal version if you prefer. So actually, let's go ahead and use the normal non-minified version, so in case there's some errors, we can kind of track it a little bit better. So light.js, that is what we have to include for now. Here we will need to include our component. We will include our component when we finish it, and here we're just gonna go ahead and just say first component, and we're gonna go create a folder called components, and inside of there let's just create a file called first component.html. And inside of this file, obviously, we will want to declare our first component. So every time you create this file of your component, you will need to include, obviously, you'll need to import the Polymer itself. And the way you import, you use link, and instead of style sheet, you say it's relative to import. And the href would be one step back, bower components, Polymer, and Polymer.html. So every time you will need to include this guy here. And the way we define our first component would be using a keyword, using an element called DOM module, and we are giving it an ID of the name that we want, which we said first component. And just as we close any HTML tag or element, we do it same with DOM module. So this is how you define So our component definition, and inside of here we pretty much do a lot of stuff. So first we have a style, and we have a template which will contain, so style will contain let's see if I have, okay, no, I don't. Actually, I do. I think I do. Can I? No. Anyway, so style is obviously for styling the component itself. Template will have our HTML contained and any kind of HTML composition there. So style template, and what we do after the DOM, we say script, and here we define our Polymer component. So I'm just gonna open it for now like this, and close it here, save it. Just okay. So basically here we're gonna style. Here we gonna have a template for our component. So basically here nothing will happen except this. So this is how the components work. You're just gonna be adding these components to your main file, and you will, all the logic and HTML and stuff will be contained in the template here itself, in the style, and the logic will be here in the Polymer function of this component. So the way we obviously register our component, its logic, is by using a Polymer function with this kind of object notation type, and we say is, and we give it its name here, and we named it first component obviously. And just as any object, we use dots to separate the next properties we want to use. And if we want to have some properties, and I'm going to show you why and how to use them. So we say properties, just add a comma here. So let's say property is title, and let's give it a type of a string, which obviously will be a string, and we can add it value of okay, I'm your first component. Okay, awesome. So let's save that. You can also use you can declare any kind of functions here and stuff. We're gonna just use one, which is called ready, which is a pre-built function, and basically what it does, it just after the component itself is rendered, it kind of strikes on, same with the jQuery one. So let's just console log I do work, sir, and save that. So now we obviously have a property here declared called title, and we didn't use it yet anywhere. So let's go ahead now and say h1, and similar like Angular syntax, we use these braces. We'll say title. It seems that Angular team obviously had a lot of influence in this, so I don't think it's a coincidence. So now our title is this value, and we can of course use just predefined text here, so we can actually, no, let's delete that. Let's go ahead here and say paragraph, and let's say I'm a poor slogan of this huge guy about. And save that. So now we have officially created our first Polymer component. Now, like we said, like we wrote here, we need to include it, and the way we include it is import it is the same as here. So we use link import. So we say link, and please give me the import, not the style sheet, and we give it the path, which would be components first component.html. And if we whatsoever try to kind of run this now, if we try to open it in a browser, and it's on my other screen, I apologize, I will need to drag it there. So if we try to open it, try to inspect this element, you'll see we gotta get an error. And the reason why we get an error is because we need to run our server, and the way we run our server is, like we said, we just simply say, well, definitely not policy tool, but so what we're gonna use now is called something that I mentioned at the start. It's called Polyserve, and I hope you installed it. If not, again, this is. So when are we in the root directory of this project? We just say Polyserve, and something happened. I think I messed it up last time, so let me just install it again. npm install. It seems that when I interrupted the installation, I kind of screwed it up. So let's try again. Also, the size of the screen is intentional. I did this so you can see the code a little bit better. So I'm kind of using this guy here so I can give you the perfect view of the code. Okay, now I should have this guy working. So if we go again and say Polyserve, it should work, and it does. And it's located on this location. You will get it yourself. So let's go ahead and copy that. Let's open our first component and try to open it there. And as you can see, our first component works perfectly. So this is our title that we have defined in our properties inside of our Polymer function logic here. And it's also rendering the normal one. So let me just discuss the Polymer a little bit, because this is pretty much basic video of what we're gonna do, and we're done with that. So I just want to say my opinion about it, and I think it's awesome. And the reason I love it is because of many things, and one of them is really something like all these things. Your entire component is defined in one file, so it's not like in Angular you have a controller and then you have a style sheet somewhere else, and then you need to include that somewhere, and blah blah blah, and so forth and so forth. So this is very, very simple to learn and to work with. And as I've just mentioned, I mean, you define your styling here, your templating here, and your logic here in one file. Of course, you could separate that yourself if you would want to, like just include the style sheet here and stuff. I don't see a reason of doing that, because when you code anyway, I mean, you're doing one thing by one. So if you're changing something particular in your project, you will change it one by one anyway. So changing these components and maintaining them, I think it's much easier than the rest of the frameworks out there. So as you can see, we have just changed our title to red and stuff. So it is quite extraordinary what the way the code itself look like here. And let me just kind of zoom out. So we have our declaration of our component, we have the style, we have the template, and then we have the logic, the JavaScript logic of the component itself. So it's really nice. I mean, of course, we can do this in one file. We can just create one components file and just have one of Polymer include, and just if we, for example, want to declare another one, we would simply say I don't know, like DOM module, and then ID is equal to second component. Let me enlarge this for you guys. So, and then we would do the same thing. We would say inside of there we will have style, and let's say H1 would be color blue, And then in the template itself, template itself, let me just copy this entire part actually. So template here. So let's simply just copy entire script as well here. So and we're just gonna change it. Let's say so second component, save that, and I'm your second component, and title will be, yeah. So, and if we go here and just say second component and try to see if we manage to do it right, we're gonna get the second component. So I mean, it's, I guess, personal preference if you would like to hold these components in separate files or in one file, but generally if it's easier for you to maintain this, I mean, hold it in one file, like in one script tag here, or simply create, I don't know, like let's go ahead and say new folder public, and then inside of public we could say new file JS, new, actually let's say new folder JS, and inside of JS we could keep our component JS, so component logic.js, and inside of there we would simply take all this from here, save it, and instead of this script tag we would have script and then source, and then we would say go one level back, and then please go to a public folder, to JS folder, and to component, I don't know how I named it, was it no, it was component logic.js. And if we go ahead and see if this actually works, it does work. So it's all personal really, but if you want to kind of separate these things, you could do the same thing with styling. So what we could do actually would be that we include the styling includes here and stuff. So I mean, it's all personal. Or of course what you could do is you could simply add classes or IDs to these components, and then you could style them that way. Actually, I haven't tried that. Let me try to say ID, no, actually class of first component. No, that's confusing for you. So let's call it the class of first. And if we, for example, go ahead and create a folder called CSS, and then call it style.css, and if we go ahead here in our header, in our head, and say link style sheet, href would be public CSS style.css, and if we go ahead there and say first, and if we say h1, what? Is this okay? Okay, it's obviously, yeah, something's very strange obviously here. I don't know what kind of syntax this, but maybe it's a Sublime theme. And if we say color green important, which will override the styling we have in here, which is red. And if we go to our okay, so that obviously didn't work. Let's see if we have, let's actually see what happened here. So if we open this, okay, it's red and it's in the style itself, but do we anywhere see, so class first, okay. Let's go to our style and style CSS, class first, that's good. And this is very strange for some reason. Let's see, okay. So style h1 color, yeah, I mean I didn't do anything wrong. And here have a public CSS, style CSS, which is this guy. So let's try font size 50 pixels just to see if that's the thing. Obviously not. So it seems it doesn't really work. and I thought actually it would. I'm kind of sad now, but it should work. I mean, let's try something else. So instead of a class component first, class, let's try ID just for fun. Probably doesn't make any sense, but let's just try ID first and h1 font size. Go ahead here and refresh this. Okay, it obviously doesn't work. I need to go to the documentation and see this, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. I'm just doing something obviously wrong. But generally, I mean, we have created our first component. We saw how we can structure the documents here and how we can play with our logic and stuff like that. So I can only thank you for watching this video. Please, if you're interested in learning more of the Polymer, let me know or comment or something like that so I can know. I would be very glad to record the full session, full series, because I'm gonna learn it myself anyway. It's quite a new framework, I mean, in terms of production ready, so it was in the alpha and beta for a long time. So if you would like to see more of the Polymer, please let me know and I'll be very happy to record more of these videos. Anyway, see you in the next video.